In this cybersecurity training program, we are also going to learn various concepts of the cybersecurity, the various architectures of the cybersecurity, and we are also going to learn the pillar of the cybersecurity, the confidentiality, integrity, and the availability of the information, how to protect the confidentiality, integrity, and the availability of the information. Also, we are going to learn various concepts of, you can say, various concepts and how to tackle the cyber security related risk. We are also going to learn various privacy related frameworks like GDPR. One of the privacy related frameworks is, you can say, this is globally recognized, and people are implementing the GDPR framework. Those who are doing business in UK part, they are implementing these kinds of framework. We are also going to understand various GRC related framework. GRC stands for Governance, Risk, and Compliance Framework. So there are various numbers of GRC related frameworks which are available across the globe, which can be implemented in an organization to fight against various cybersecurity related risks. So one of the framework is your NIST framework. NIST is a cybersecurity framework. Another frameworks are GRC frameworks are your ISO related framework. What actually the ISO? ISO stands for International Organization for Standardization. This ISO is a supreme body which publishes. This is a non-governmental organization. ISO publishes various standards. You can say various standards start from aerospace industry, your cyber security, information security, your medical devices, your quality management system, environment management system. There are lots of, you could say 14,000 plus standards are there with ISO. Every country is a part of your this ISO. Near about, you can say 140 plus countries are the part of this ISO members. They are the member of this ISO organization. Headquarters of the ISO is in Geneva, Switzerland. Each ISO publish the standards. What actually things to be implemented across the organization. This is a framework published by the ISO. So there are various various standard like ISO 27001 is your one of the standard to fight against the information security related risk. This is the information security management systems. ISO 27002 is your one of the standards where the controls, what are the controls needs to be implemented across the organization, the technical control, the organization control, the people control, and the organizational level controls. Those controls has been listed down in ISO 27002. So we need, when we are implementing anything, any controls within the organization, cybersecurity related controls, we need to go through this ISO 27002. Similarly, the risk management, because we need to identify the risk. For the risk management, the framework is ISO 27005. 27005 is your one of the standard for doing the IT risk management. For general risk management, there is another standard called as ISO 31000. 31000 is also one of the framework to identify the risk related to cyber security, information security, and all. Accordingly, there are various governance, risk, and compliance framework. As we proceed, we will see what actually those frameworks are and how to implement those frameworks within the organization. Now, agenda of this cybersecurity training program. What is the cybersecurity? What is the cybersecurity objectives? What are the cybersecurity risks? How to identify the cybersecurity risk? How to treat those cybersecurity related risks? Cybersecurity frameworks. What are the various cybersecurity frameworks? And accordingly, we will see a framework. First, we will identify the risk related to cybersecurity. Then we'll go in the protect phase. Then we'll go in the detect phase. These are all the phases of the cybersecurity. identify, protect, detect, respond, and recover. And in the last, we will have a question answer session. So this is the overall, you can say, agenda of the cyber security training program. Cybercrime is a global problem. There are various threats to the organization's assets. There are various threats to the large international organizations like your banks, your government organizations, various multinational organizations. There are various kinds of threats to those organizations, the threats related to the cyber security. So that's the person that you can say hackers are the person who are trying to access the information, trying to gain access within your organization servers and all, and try to exploit those information. For protecting those things, we are doing this cyber security. We are for protecting those things. We have to implement various controls. Now, before going ahead, we need to understand what actually the cyberspace are. The cyberspace is your, you can say, combinations of your network devices, your endpoint devices, your software assets, and the processes what you are following in the organization. So cyberspace is the combination of your networks, your endpoint devices, your processes, and the software. These four things forms a, you can say these four things form a cyberspace. Now, the question comes here: why we need cybersecurity? Because we need the straightforward answer is that the more we are moving digital, the more the organization or a country is moving on a digital platform, there is a more risk to cybersecurity. A time comes when you will be identified by your IP address. It's there. People are being identified by their IP addresses. The more we'll move online, there is a more chance of, you can say, more exposure toward the, you can say, more exposure toward the hacking, more exposure toward the persons who are trying to penetrate within your system. That's why we need a cyber security, because nowadays our generations, today's generation is dealing with random bits 1 or 0, 1 or 0, 1 and 0. So that's why we need a cyber security. That's why we need cyber security. What actually the cyber security is? The definition of the cyber security, that the use of cyber security can help and prevent the cyber attacks. The first thing is that it will prevent the cyber attack, it will prevent the data breaches, and it will identify the threats and can add to the risk management. This would be the use of the cyber security. Cyber security is protecting the electronic devices and associated data and the information. The definition of the cyber security is that you are going to protect we are protecting the electronic devices and associated data and the information. This would be a definition of the cyber security. Cyber security, you can say, is to prevent the attack. The first thing is, the first element in the cyber security is to prevent the attack. Another thing is that to prevent the disruption. Disruption is that to prevent the unavailability of, you can see, your IT assets. Protection against the code injections and the control over the physical access. To prevent the unauthorized physical access to your data center, to your servers and all. So this is the definition of the, you can say, definition of the cyber security, the proper definition of the cyber security. And the cyber security is a set of principles and practices that are designed to safeguard your computing assets and the online information against the threats. So why cybersecurity is so important? Cybersecurity is important because it is going to protect us from the various security breaches. Cybersecurity is going to protect us the various cybersecurity, you can say cyber security breaches, data security breaches, and sabotage also. So that's why cybersecurity is very important. What actually the scope of cybersecurity? The scope of cybersecurity, the first thing comes under the scope is your system security. The system security, your operating system security, your cryptography, your authentication authorization mechanism, your mobile, your softwares, mobile and software security, and also infrastructure security and the software platform security. Cyber security, in the scope, system security is there, your endpoint system, your server security, your computer security, your laptop security would be there. Software related security would be also there, and the infra security is there. So these are the things, your system, your infra, your software, and one more part is that your human resource security would also be a part of your cybersecurity training program, and privacy related things, your individual privacy related things would be also part of the cybersecurity. These other things comes under the scope of the cybersecurity. Now, we have seen what actually the cybersecurity is, why the cybersecurity is important, why the cybersecurity is very important, and what could be the scope of the cybersecurity. Now, we are talking about, because when there would be, what would be the consequences of the security breach? When a security breach would be happen, when your data would be compromised, what actually the consequences, you can say consequences is nothing but impact. What would be the impact on your organization or on the personal individual or individual person's life? If there would be a security breach in an organization, what would be there? Your reputations, whatever the reputations you have, your organization have, it will be destroyed. Vandalism would be there. The theft of your data would be stolen. There would be a revenue loss also. When you can say when there would be a security breach, it will also impact on the revenue of the organization and the damaged intellectual property. Your intellectual property could be damaged. These are the some consequences, you can say, the impact of the security breach. Now, questions come here. The cybersecurity skill gap, a ticking time bomb. There is a huge number of cybersecurity persons are required across the globe. You can say, according to 2020, a workforce study has been conducted by ISC Square. We do have 3.12 million professional gaps. You can say we don't have 3.12 million professionals, which is all to fill these gaps. Either 3.12 million vacancies are still there across the globe, but there is no persons are not there to fill those gaps, and these gaps are increasing day by day. In US itself, this cybersecurity industries are increasing by 41%. And when I'm talking about worldwide, it's 89%. This industry is, you can say, increasing by 89% worldwide. I'm not saying this. There are various studies conducted. There are various studies conducted by the various numbers of organizations like your ISO, your Kaspersky, your there are lots numbers of people have conducted these things, and they have find there are lots of gaps. And why these gaps are there? I will let you know why these gaps are there. The persons, IT graduates, the person who is doing doing BTech or doing ME or uh, you can say MTech and all. These persons, the software persons are they are doing BTech, they are doing their engineering in computer science or in IT. Now, the computer science persons, when they pass out from their colleges, they go and opt a field of your coding and all. The IT graduates, they go, they when they pass out, they choose a field of you can say server maintenance, server installations, and all their desktop support types of fields are there. Now, who will go in the field of cybersecurity? Now I have come to know various institute in India, also various institute in you can say there are a large number of university in across the globe. You can say in Melbourne, in Australia, in US, they have started a cybersecurity courses in the engineering also. They are to why this cybersecurity? Because this is not a traditional course. Because in the cybersecurity, you are not going to learn about only technical concepts, but by knowing the technical concept, also you should aware about some another concepts like your people related control, your organization related control, and your policy framing. How to frame the policy, how to frame a processes, and your risk identification. How to identify the risk? What are the tools we can use to identify the risk? Your identity access management kinds of thing, how to have identity access management tools, so how to handle the incident. There are lot number of it in the cyber security. So that's why, because there is no traditional courses are available, that then there is a gap. Nowadays the courses are being available, the teachers are being you can say the students are of different framework has been trained. So this gap can hopefully be, you can say, filled. Now, how to close those gaps? Those gaps can be, you can say, closed by providing the trainings. Organization, for organization, they should think their non-traditional staffs who are not in the field of cybersecurity, they can be trained so that they can make their career in the field of cybersecurity or the information security. So continuous learning and the professional growth can help you to build a workforce which can work in the field of cybersecurity and the information security. So there are huge numbers of gaps are there in the field of information security and the cybersecurity. There are some basic terminology which are being used in the cybersecurity training program. We are going to use more frequently in our training program. We are going to cover those things also. The first thing is the hacker. Everyone knows about the hacker. Everyone is aware about the term hackers. So there are three types of hackers are there. So I'm not going in the details who actually are the hackers, but we are going to see what are the types of hackers. So there are three types of hackers: your white hat, black hat, and the gray hat. White hat hackers are being hired by the organization. They are the ethical hackers, you can say. So there is a proper certifications in the ethical hacking. The CEH certification is there. CES certification is there, that stands for your certified ethical hacker. The CEH certification is also, you can say, ISC Square. ISC Square is giving the certification in the CEH field also. So those white hat hackers are, you can say, the white hat hackers are the ethical hackers that are hired by the organization to find out the vulnerability, what actually the vulnerabilities are in our system. Those are called as white hat hackers. The black hat hackers, they are the crackers. They are trying to attack and take advantage in the vulnerability of the system or vulnerability of organization system for personal, financial, and the political gain. Sometimes political gains are also there. You must have heard a news related to US elections where someone is saying that Russia had you can say uh, hacked the something and all. So there are various kinds of political gains are also being associated. The hacking are associated with the political gains. The peoples are blaming to the China that China is doing using their hackers for doing the political gains and all. So that's the separate matter. But uh, black hat hackers are involved in these kinds of illegal activity. Those black hat hackers are called as crackers. Sometimes we are calling them as a hackers. Now, gray hat hackers, the gray hat hackers are somewhere between white hat and the black hat. The gray hat attackers may find a vulnerability in system. Gray hat hacker may report those vulnerability to the owners of the system if the action coincides with their agenda. Some gray hat hackers publish the fact about the vulnerability on the internet so that other attackers can exploit it. So they are the gray hat hackers are the not the professional hackers. So you can say mistakenly they will find a vulnerability in the system. Sometimes you can see the persons across the globe, the students across the globe, they are finding the vulnerability in the Google system or the Microsoft system. So those persons are called as gray hat because accidentally they come to know about the vulnerability. There is no motivation. There is no you can say there is no motive behind in finding out the vulnerability in the system. So these are the types of hackers. Now, the most important part is that what is the objective of the cyber security? The objective of the cyber security stand on these three pillars. What are we trying to protect ourselves against? This is the you can say objective of the cyber security. The first objective is the unauthorized access. Unauthorized access. So we are trying to control three main aspects. We are trying to control unauthorized access, unauthorized deletion, and unauthorized modification. So we are trying to control these three things in the cyber security. Apart from that, we are trying to protect confidentiality, integrity, and the availability. So this in interviews also these kinds of questions have been asked. What is the CIA? What is the CIA Traid? What is CIA Traid? CIA Traid stand for your confidentiality, integrity, and the availability. These three are the pillars of the security. All the policies and all the processes within the organizations are built in for these three things: your confidentiality, integrity, and the availability. Now we will see in the details what actually the confidentiality are, what actually the integrity are, and what actually the availability are. We are going to see the details now. Confidentiality is the protecting information from unauthorized access and disclosure. We are going to protect the information. The confidentiality is protecting information from unauthorized access and disclosure. This would be a definition of the confidentiality. Now let's take an example of the confidentiality. The criminals are trying to steal the customers' usernames, password, or the credit card information. These are the things are the confidential. Your username, your password, your credit card related information. These are confidential to you. So we, in the confidentiality, we are going to protect the confidentiality of the information. Unauthorized access and disclosure. Unauthorized access. Those who are not authorized to access the information, they should not access those information. Suppose my credit card PIN, only I am being authorized to use those PIN. So this is the confidential information for me. So any unauthorized access or disclosure, so I need to protect my credit card PIN. So for protecting my credit card PIN, what I will do, I will ensure that I will try to remember the PIN, not to write anywhere. I'm not supposed to write my credit card PIN anywhere so that anyone can take my credit card, and they, if the person know my PIN, they can withdraw anything. They can do the shopping. This is the separate matter. The person would be the caught, can be caught, but protecting the confidentiality of the information is very, very important. The first pillar of the thing is confidentiality. Another pillar of the cyber security is integrity. Integrity is nothing but unauthorized modification. What actually the unauthorized modifications are? The person who is not authorized to modify the information should not modify the information. If I am not authorized to modify any information, then it should not be modified by anyone. The integrity of the information, suppose someone trying to alter the payroll related information of an employee, this would be considered as a integrity part. The availability. Next pillar is your availability. Availability is the preventing disruption in how information is accessed. This is called as availability. Availability of the information is the simple. When I want to use the things, the information should be available. Suppose I want to use google.com. The google.com should be readily available. It should, if it would not be available, it should going to impact to the Google itself. In the same way, people are doing shopping on the Amazon. If I'm doing the shopping on the Amazon.com, if the Amazon.com is not available when I'm trying to use it, what would be there? There would be loss of business to the Amazon. Suppose there are X numbers of customers are visiting to Amazon.com in a minute. If the Amazon services would not be available for 10 minutes in a day, so they are going to use, you can say, huge numbers of customers. So this is also, if I'm giving a service to my customer, then availability of information is very critical. Unavailability or any disruption in the services which I am providing to a customer may impact on the organization. My business could be lost. This is the three pillar of the cyber security. There are various tools. To protect the CIA. The first tool is your authentication. Another tool is your authorization, and the third tool is your non-reputation. There are certain tools to protect the confidentiality and the integrity of the information, we can say, not availability. What actually the authentication are? Authentication is a security measure that is designed to establish the validity of transmission message or the originator or a means of verifying an individual's authorization to receive a specific category of the information. Now, authentication is a security measures which we are going to design in our organization to protect the confidentiality and the integrity of the part. Now, their authentication, the system is trying to authenticate. First, I am trying to authenticate the same users are trying to access the information who are authorized to do so. So there are some factors. There are certain factors of authentication. You can say there are three factors of authentication. The first factor is something you know. Once you will try to authenticate your system, the control would be based upon three factors. The first factor is something you know. Something you know means Suppose I'm trying to access my bank account. What something I know, the user ID and password. The user ID and password. My password I know. My secret password what has been provided by the bank or what I have generated. I know something you know. Something you have is another level of authentication mechanism. In this another level of authentication mechanism, a OTP would come to your mobile number or your registered email ID. This would be your something you have. The third level of authentication mechanism are something you are. Something you are means you are the person, the authorized persons are trying to access the data. For that region, you are being authenticated through your voice print, through your retinal scan, through your or through your biometric. So most of these three types of factors may depend upon the criticality of the data, how the critical data you are handling, how the what are the critical information is being handled by the organization. These three factors, something you know, something you have, and something you are, needs to be now. Authorization. Authorization means access privilege has been granted to a user. Some access or some privilege has been granted to you. Suppose for your banking related information, you are authorized to do a transaction near about, you can say, 1000 USD. Above 1000 USD, you need to visit the bank and they will help you out to do the certain transactions. This is called as authorization. Someone has authorized you. Someone has authorized you to access those data, access the information. It's called as authorization. It's called as authorization. So these are the things. Authentication and authorization can be used to, you can say, prevent the uh, confidentiality, integrity of the information.